Josh, it's so good to see you again.
Good to be here. Good to be seen.
Yeah. Hell
Not
yeah.
a lot, not everybody gets the luxury of being seen. So,
I love it. I
yeah,
love it. That's why we're here. Um, it's our, what, fifth time sitting down now? Five out of
yeah,
seven? Okay.
yes, it's
Okay.
crazy
Yeah. It flies by. It flies by.
that it does. Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Well, hey, before we start, anything you need to do? Coffee, water, notifications, note taking?
Not DND is engaged. Caffeine is at hand, and I am looking as fine as this old ugly mug can ever look. So I'm ready to go.
You look great. Let's dive in wherever you want to start.
Cool. So last week's session, absolutely monumental. Digging deep through the dialogue, the internal dialogue, and the balance of power, the camaraderie, the teamwork, all of it. So foundational, monumental, big shift. Love it. What I'd like to talk about is the practical side of it, not as it, you know, maybe not so much as it applies to me in a personal sense, but me in a business sense, because I made the connection quite quickly that this internal dialogue has a lot of business implications to it, and how I can talk myself in or out of a good idea, a bad idea, even the daily motivations of doing the rote mundane tasks of a business, right? Because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes you just have to do stuff. But that internal dialogue plays a big part on what a lot of those things do. So I'd kind of like to explore there, and maybe today leave with some tools to catch stuff in the moment and work through how to make sure that the dialogue is healthy, and the dialogue is promoting good habits, and eventually, hopefully, pushing to the best outcomes.
Okay. Okay. Hearing the word monumental and foundational is awesome to hear. I remember last week it was so much about like what do we do, right, with this voice that is louder, the extroverted voice in your mind that's we started saying evil but extroverted. And what I'm hearing is like how do we apply the practical business lens on top of this so that we can figure out how to deal with it when the voices are specifically about business decisions. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what, tell me more about this past week. Like, what helped with the voices and the balance of power and all that? Because I imagine if we can extract that, we can probably apply it to the business stuff, potentially.
Sure. I think what helped, and this is going to sound super silly, but no, when you know that I'm in video production and all of that stuff, I really started to see these internal discussions as a scene from a movie or a dialogue or a written script, and the dynamics of it being, you know, it's not like the dialogue isn't the whole movie, but the dialogue is a key scene in the movie that the next arc of the story rests on. So encapsulating it as just a scene, pivotal scene, but just the scene, definitely helped not let anything go out of control, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was always a big thing. So not letting anything overwhelm the entire situation. So that was a big plus. Knowing that it was just a dialogue, just one scene in a larger play, in a larger production, definitely helped be able to parse it better. That helped, and then also playing the kind of knowing that it's two actors in there. If one actor dominates the scene, the other actor doesn't get the shine. So I know last week we spoke a little bit about, how much room are you going to give the extroverted side to say? Okay, so he's got to say his lines, and his lines have got to be this, and he's got to have room to breathe. He's got to have room in the scene to do that. So I kind of built that structure around those internal dialogues, and it just kind of allowed me to keep things moving and pay credence. Where I guess I kind of landed a little bit where my introverted side is up for the role of best actor, but the extroverted side would be up for the role as best supporting actor. And keeping those two, keeping all of that in mind, allowed the scenes to move through more thoroughly.
That's such an interesting metaphor. The best actor, best supporting actor. And it feels like such a shift from like where we started last week of that like super loud evil voice dominating.
Oh yeah. Moving from evil to like comrades to teammates to working together to make the whole production so much better, each within its own role. That journey is so... It blew my mind once I put it all together because, we all... I don't think I'm alone in saying that we all deal with internal conflict, internal struggles, and things like that. And when you only rest on it as a... one is trying to control the other, and you're just going to inflame the conflict. But when you begin to look at it as, there's roles to play, your teammates, both sides probably have your best interest in mind, and you begin to think like that, then the dialogue becomes less combative. The internal stress, the internal struggle is less. It becomes more peaceful. It becomes more productive. So yeah, massive shift in just once again, I think the theme of all this is just having a framework to think about these things is so beneficial.
Amazing. Okay, so what framework can we put together here now for the business side, right?
Right.
And so I'm curious, Josh, like if given everything that's helped in the past week with these voices overall, what feels like the blocker to you on the business decision side of this equation?
There's a partial block of my inexperience of running a business, right? So there's, I think, both the introverted and extroverted side of the equation has a lack of experience. So neither one really knows what exactly is the best way to move forward. They both have both sides of the story, both sides of the argument, both sides of the equation have really good, valid ideas or really good, valid theories. But since neither one of them had the experience, both of them are kind of like, well, let's test this theory out. Let's test this theory out. Let's do this. Let's try this. And then the wheels begin to spin because there's no traction. So I would definitely say, the inexperienced thing is part of it. And I understand that sometimes the only way to do it is to just get the experience and to, find wise people and wise mentors to help fill in some of those gaps. So it's one of the things that I'm doing, but I did want to say that is one of the blockers. And actually, as I'm saying it now, it's probably the primary blocker, just because, you know, I don't think we've talked about how I really love to be prepared. I really love to read. I really love to, and not knowing or having a succinct path forward gets me to spin my wheels, and I get stuck. And that's being stuck, gets frustrated, and unraveling begins, I suppose, within the confines of that internal dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that's probably the primary one. I could probably in time I'll discover more of them, but that's definitely the first one that comes to mind, or the biggest one that comes to mind. So
Okay. And I'm curious if you feel it would be useful to like treat this as a discussion where we're kind of talking in theory about like what to do in general if there's a business question or a business decision. Or I'm wondering if there's like an example you have in mind that either happened this week or that you want to work through. Is there one angle that might be more helpful than the other for you?
I think I work best talking generally, theoretically first, and then as we talk about that, then usually a specific example comes into mind. So maybe we can circle it a little bit, and potentially we'll arrive somewhere.
Oh, we will. We will for sure. Okay, we know we will for sure.
Yeah. We've done it 4 weeks in a row now at this point. So yeah,
it's gonna get somewhere for sure. Okay, so if I'm hearing you, Josh, there's the two voices in our mind, and when there's something around a business decision, there's this feeling of this voice of inexperience, and that's driving these two voices to be kind of going back and forth. And like you said, there's not much traction happening when that happens. Okay.
Yeah.
What is that? Tell me about those two voices in those moments. What are they saying?
The calmer, introverted side will talk about, will be very, let's approach whatever decision needs to be made as smartly, as patiently, as succinctly, and as completely as we can, so that we don't, or so that we can be as efficient as possible in the endeavor. The extroverted side would be like, it's going to be inefficient because you don't know what you're doing, so just do it and mess up, and which both sides are extremely valid. One is very, let's not waste energy, and the other one is, you're probably going to end up wasting energy anyway because you don't know how to do it, so just do it. That's probably the biggest conflict in regards to this idea of just the inexperience of things.
Okay. So I've heard you say inexperience a few times. What experience do you have?
Oh, I have a lot of experience in... implementing the vision of other people into reality. So I've often said about myself that I'm really, really, really good at being like an interpreter, where I can take other people's visions and bring it to life, whether through video or through, I've got a marketing background and all of that stuff, right? So really, really good at, okay, I hear what you're saying. These are the things that we need to do to make this reality. I am not very good at doing that for myself. Like, that's, if it's an external source that I hear, I can listen, I can analyze, I can tear it apart, rip it apart, build it, all that stuff. I have done it everywhere that I have been. When it comes to being the author of that, and then being the self-interpreter of that, not so good, and straight into the wheel spinning time and time and time and time again. So I know I can say that one of the ways that was beneficial that I kind of combated that in the past is when I first started the business, I was trying to be a full scale marketing agency, building websites, email, print marketing, graphic design, all of it. And I was like, I cannot handle all of those things. So I started paring down offerings, paring down offerings, paring down offerings until I was like, video is the most effective form of communication. It is the one that connects people the best. It is the one that's what we're going to focus on. So by paring down those options, my business began to grow and stuff through that. So by eliminating options, which is that introverted side, right? Let's eliminate all of these things, be as efficient as possible. And it's worked out real well. Now I'm to the point where in order to get the business to the next level, I'm going to have to begin to not add in new product lines, but begin to expand what I do. And that's where the conflict comes back in.
Specifically when we think about expanding to next level. So when you're thinking about like your BAU, like the stuff that you're doing right now, the scope that you have, the functions that you have, the offerings that you have, how loud is this conflict in your mind with when it's just about the stuff that you are working on that you're used to?
When it's stuff that I'm used to, it's not really so loud. Like, it's there and it's audible in quieter and slow times, but not ever overwhelming because, I've kind of got a workflow, I've kind of got a process down, I've kind of got those things down. And then and any new projects that sprout out of what I normally do is usually with a customer that I am familiar with. So we have a relationship established and it's like, okay, hey, let's take a flyer on it. The risk is mitigated with it and so on and so forth. So when it comes to things that I already know that I can do and I can do well, the chatter's real low. Always there, always present. I don't think any business owner never has that chatter in the background because we're always like, let's, how are we going to do? What are we going to do next? How do we improve? So on and so forth. Chatter real low. It gets real loud when it comes to, like I know I've done everything that I've done so far in like a specific example, right? I know that I've done everything so far with a lot of it's all been word of mouth and referrals. My clients are really awesome at giving me pointers and recommending me. So everything that I've had has been through word of mouth and through existing relationships. That's great. I would like to be a little bit more intentional with sales, and I'd like to be a little bit more intentional with creating systems around generating leads and those things. Stuff that I really don't know a whole lot about. And so that would be like a very specific example of, something new, something related that's expanding, that's out of my comfort zone because it's, something I don't know a whole lot about. So yeah, see, look, there. It took us just 5-10 minutes to get to a specific place. We're getting better at this.
Tell me more. What just happened there? I'm tracking, but
I guess just I guess it's just the getting up the courage to say what I've been trying to say, what's been on the mind. I know this is kind of the biggest thing that I've had in my mind for the last probably 18 months or so is trying to figure out how to build a system. And I guess just getting to the point, I guess, oh, I'm just going to say it out loud and we'll talk about it. That's probably what just happened there. Just, drop the pretenses of things and just get to it. So,
Okay. Gonna let you sit in that for a sec. I know that was a...
Yeah.
We're here. We're gonna get it sorted.
sure, we always
There's nothing wrong. It's expanding and growth,
Yeah.
but we'll sit in this for a sec.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things that keeps recurring through all of our sessions is, and you still, whatever reason, you don't ever, or I don't ever, not you, I don't ever, I guess, fully grasp how real it is. It's just, whenever you say anything, it becomes smaller, and it's just, if you just own it and you just say it, and it's out there, it's instantly more manageable than it is in the echo chamber of your brain. Like, there, I've said it out loud. Okay, it doesn't seem as scary. It doesn't seem as whatever. It's still a real problem. It's still something that needs to be done and be built. But it's, it's out there. It's been shared. So I guess that's probably a good a lesson that I wish that would be a little bit more easily learned for me, is that I have a body of evidence that just saying things and just admitting them usually leads to some good type of thing, but yet still it's that constant having to convince myself that that's actually the case in order to just get to it and do it.
It's been a consistent thing for sure for you since day one. If we can name it, we can own it. And if we can own it becomes smaller.
Yeah.
That's whether it's a triangle, whether it's the voices from last week, whether it's this right now, right? And that's going to be the consistent thing, I think, for how you're wired, which is great to know, right? Going forward.
Yeah.
Even past our sessions, right? For forever.
Yeah, it'll just be, I think, the trick is, right, now that you know, how do you build that into a habit? How do you build that into a repeatable action? How do you build that into spaces that aren't as comfortable as this? It would be another thing that I think is a big part of it, right? Because here, safe space, just you and I, and then eventually the millions of people that watch this on social media, still a safe space. So it's easy to do that. Outside of this, then comes the next phase of that growth, is learning how to do that outside of these confines. And I'm aware of that. And that'll be probably on my mind of how to find ways to make, to help that along. But yeah, I'm aware that that's a new transition that will have to be there. And I think it'll be a good thing. Overall, and I think that'll be a beneficial thing. Not that it won't be hard, not that it won't have a emotional, an emotional component to it, but that's the point of growth anyway. So,
Yeah.
doing hard things and making the hard things become a little easier over time.
Yeah. We can definitely talk about like practical ways to get comfortable saying things out loud. Like we can touch on that at the end if you want before we wrap, and maybe
Sure.
we can test some of that out between
love it.
this week and next time we chat.
Yeah.
So Josh, in a moment, I almost want to do a bit of a reset intentionally because we kind of landed on like a thing 15 minutes in. We have 40 more minutes, but I almost want to do a bit of a reset and have you almost like pretend that you're coming back in now with this realization and saying, Tarik, like, this is the thing that we want to do today, and like, here's what I think we need to do. I'm going to give you that chance in a sec, okay?
Yeah.
Before we do that, you started touching on like the system that you wanted to build, and I heard you say sales and lead gen, and I just wanted to flush this out for a sec. Like, give me the system that feels scary that you are hoping to get to one day.
Oh, see, like I don't know. Like that's part of the fear thing with me is I don't even know what I'd like hope to have because it's that type of an experience all the way around. Like I don't know like what anything like that looks like. Like I don't know what it, I, I don't know what it would look like for me. I know what a sales system would look like in general. But let's tie back in a value system that we has been so there. I don't know what it would look like for me because I can tell you I've seen a lot of sales and marketing and stuff that would absolutely violate my sales system, and I know I don't want to do that. That's and maybe potentially that was that that dissonance between those two things are what causing a lot of the wheel spinning, because I can tell you a lot of things that when I encounter it, it does not make me feel good. But those are the examples that I have in order to try to build something that's there, and I don't know enough about the pieces to say, this piece makes me feel icky, but this piece feels good. And that goes back to where some of that inexperience rolls and lies, because I know that I need it, but I don't know what it looks like for me. I don't know what it looks like for Left Eye. I don't know what it looks like to have a sales system that embodies the values that we put forth that, because we've already established if I put something in place that violates those values and I run with it, then I've done nothing but myself up for failure, because all the imposter syndrome, all of that stuff will come in board. So, or, come into play and start to rage again. Well, that's counterproductive, right? That's counterproductive, and I don't want to do that.
I'm so glad that I asked that question, because it wasn't the question I meant to ask, and I'm so glad I made a mistake to ask that and it went there. I'm tracking Josh, right? And it's everything we talked about with the values in session 2, and now applying it to the business lens. And before we do the reset, my question was only meant to be, I heard the word sales and leads. Are there other functions that you had in mind when you thought about the stuff you're trying to build? I'm so glad you took it where you took it. But are we talking about sales alone, or is it something more from a business sense? Just so we know the scope that we're talking about.
So, I think to me I don't have any doubts that if I can get sales done and understand that and build a system there, then that unlocks my ability to do marketing well. I am thoroughly confident in my ability to have great customer service. I'm thoroughly confident in the product that I can make and deliver, and then follow up, and all of those things. All of these other pieces that I feel are really important for a business, I feel good about. Not perfect, because everything can be improved. Everything, can scale, all of those things, and it changes the equation. Over and over again, it's the sales, the lead gen, and that process over and over again, which I keep banging my head up against. It's over and over and over again, where I'll start something, I'll try something, feel a little icky about it because I'm modeling it after something that I don't, feels icky. So there may be more pieces, but I've only been able to identify those two things to this point.
Okay. Sounds good. So if we were to reset and we had just started the session right now, and I was like, hey, Josh, what feels like the best use of time for you in the amazing 30, 35, 40 minutes we have today?
Sure. I'd like to leave here heading in the direction of being able to build a sales and lead gen strategy that doesn't violate my values. Actually, that not even doesn't violate my values, but embodies the values that I've put forth both personally and for my business, and that will lead to a next phase of profitability and growth for my company. That would be, I guess, that's probably what has been on my mind most especially during the last few weeks.
Okay. Okay. And Josh, we've gone from a place of like, we're talking about like session one, session two, like triangle stuff, and it's in it right now. And like, to me, I feel like there's progress just in the fact that we're now in a space where we're talking about like, how do we grow this business?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like that's a different energy, right? Than like the triangle stuff from before. And so I just want to acknowledge like the path kind of that you're on right now, that we're even like sitting here being like, how do we grow this thing now with these values that we care about so deeply?
Yeah, it is. I think it would. I don't want to misspeak, but I may, and hopefully I'll be able to clear it up. But I think it would be a disservice to you and to me and to anyone that has followed along on here, that if we did all of this hard, emotional, personal work and we spent all of this time putting this all together and we didn't actually tie it to our work, my work, my livelihood, I think it would be a disservice, and I feel that I would be dishonoring everything that we put together, and dishonoring, I think, this space. That would be how I would feel about it if we don't do it. So I want to move forward in it, knowing that we have not closed everything that we've talked about to this point on the personal side is not solved. It's not perfect, but it's been named, it's been addressed, it's been put in a proper place. There's been frameworks put around it that all of those things will evolve. But if we don't get to the brass tacks of the business of things, then I would feel that we have not wasted our time, but not maximized it. So, hopefully there was hopefully you took no offense from that. That's not what I would mean anything at all. But I feel that if we don't do it, then, we didn't get everything out of it. We didn't get everything out of it that we wanted to. We didn't get out, we didn't maximize this opportunity and this chance that we have. This crazy thing that we're doing would be not as good as it could be, or not as impactful as it could be.
I hear you. And I want to, though, I care more about you than I care about the videos that are going out.
Sure.
Like, the videos are the videos, and like whoever might be watching, but like, I care more about us tackling the stuff that you feel is most pressing. And so I am so down for us to dive into this, but I want to make sure that it's from a place of like you saying, this is what I want to dive into, and not it feeling like the forced next step by any means.
No, it doesn't feel forced. I mean, and it definitely doesn't feel. It felt to me the natural progression of all of these things. It felt to me that, okay, you have in this time, Josh, you have taken accountability for the fears that you have. You have shared those fears with another person. You have owned them. You have felt the effect of the personal triangle of distress. You understand those things. You have worked through some of those things. You have you have begun to see the inner dialogue that you have and how they're good and they're bad. You have said that you have a code that you live by. You do have a foundation. So it felt just like, okay, we've got this baseline, we've covered this ground. While we may not have a complete map of all of it, we have enough of a map to say, let's move even more to the practical. Like that, maybe that's what it feels so natural because we started so abstract, and each week in each session we've gotten a little more practical and a little bit more real and a little bit more real and a little bit more, hands on. So it felt very natural to come into this and say, let's try to put this in concrete, real concrete of something that is actually going on and is a large part of my actual life. Almost like how if you this would be the phase that if you were in a marriage counseling situation, this would be the part of how do you two actually live together, right? You've gone through how you feel, you've gone through triggers, you've gone through what you believe in, all this. So the next phase is, well, okay, how do you put these two things together? So I feel that we've arrived very well at this real practical point of, so how do you then live this stuff out in a very particular context?
Okay. So then, for sales and lead gen, in a way that embodies your values, let's tackle it. Let's get
do it. Yeah.
Tell me about the values.
So I believe very strongly that it is my job to leave everything that I touch better than I found it. And that if I can't be of real help to someone, if there's someone better for the job or if there's someone that has a better skill set or whatever, if I am not that, then it is my responsibility to walk away because I want to give someone who's paying me deserves 100% of the worth of the money that they're paying. And if I can't give them that and someone else can, you should give them their money. That's the way that I believe. That's very anti-sales, right? That's very anti that selling mentality of just close the deal, close the deal, close the deal. And then also, too, I really, truly, honestly believe that the golden rule isn't about getting more gold. People will be like, do unto others as they'd have them do unto you. And they focus on that as kind of this quid pro quo thing of, I'm going to do what's best because then I get what's best back. That's not the point. The point is to treat others the way that they deserve to be treated as valuable human beings, as valuable business owners, as valuable customers trying to do things. And if you do that, then the whole world begins to unlock, right? Which in, unfortunately, so many sales situations, it's just close the deal, just take their money, and if you have to, screw them over in the end and whatever. I can't do that. Even saying it out loud gives me the creepy crawlies because it's unfortunately been modeled in so many places that I've seen. So, that's I guess this is a lot of the pieces that I do believe in, and the values that I want to be embodied in my sales and lead gen process. But there's not like a lot of examples of that to just emulate, or maybe they're out there and I don't know where they are. I don't know where to look. I've not been, I've not been privy to them. So yeah, that's just, it's how I feel deep inside. It's I don't I want to be honoring to anyone who's willing to part with their hard-earned money for my services, and that's, and I think that's just the right thing to do. It's like, it's not hard. It's just the right thing to do.
What would happen if you somehow snapped your fingers and had 20, 30 examples readily available that showed you that this was possible?
Well, I think it would give me a little bit more hope and optimism that it is possible. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if I can sit here and say that I truly believe that what I would like to build is possible. I really like that. There is a fear and a doubt that's there that I don't know. You know, the images of the sleazy car salesman and all of those things, they loom large in the discussion of any type of system and sales system. I'm not saying everyone who does it is terrible or everyone who does it is there. I'm just saying that archetype looms so large. So having all of these different types of examples would give me hope that something is possible. And we can always build on hope.
This archetype, by the way, I hear you. The word sales, the function of sales, it's a pretty universal, like, there's a bit of sometimes a reaction that people get. So I want to call that out. I hear you on what you're saying. Now, can we play with this for a sec?
Please.
So examples would potentially give you hope. But there's a feeling, right, of, if I'm hearing you right, that you're not sure if what you would hope to build is even possible or doable. Can we hypothetical for a sec?
Please.
If it was possible, if I gave you a guarantee, like I'm back from the future 5 years from now, and I'm like, Josh, I seen it, it's possible, it's being done, you are doing it, it's aligned to your values, it's possible. If you knew that it was possible, what would you build?
I don't know. Like, it seems like such a fundamental question, but it is so outside of the realm of the possibility that my brain can wrap around that I don't know how to answer that. I can tell you the outcomes that I think that I would see. But I don't even know what it would look like. I just don't. Which is such a rare thing for me. Because I can usually piece together something of an idea. But for whatever reason, this is such a block. And I have no clue as to why it's so outside of that realm. Yeah.
Okay. Can we stay in the hypothetical for a sec?
Please.
I've come back, I've told you, hey, it's possible, it's being done. There's a sales system that's in place, lead gen system that's in place. It's aligned with your values and it's giving you the outcomes that you want. You're doing it, right? So what does that not look like? What are you not doing?
I know that the end result is I don't have a lot of one and done customers. with the way that we build it, it's built very much to have a lot of good relationships being built. My customers are making a crap ton of money off of the efforts that we have. Their marketing and their training and all of their endeavors of what they want to use video for is killing it. You know, it'd be awesome to be able to say that, you know, I, I think that the number one result that I want is for the majority of the customers to say that the value they received from the product delivered was much more than the money that they paid for it. Like, I want the value that they get out of the assets that we create and deliver absolutely justifies the price. That's one of the perfect testimonies would be like that phrase. And that I know is a lot tied to a lot of other pieces of it. But I'd like to be able to find, like, the whole idea of the sales and lead gen is, how do I find those types of customers that align with that type of thinking? Obviously, I don't know. Maybe it's trying to find customers that at least partially align with my value system too. I don't know. That popped into my head. I don't know. Maybe there's a possibility of something like that. I know that'll never be a one-to-one thing, but yeah, that's just the stuff that's coming to mind, I guess, right now.
Yeah. And look, Josh, you said this has been a block kind of for 18 months, right? Mm-hmm. And so we likely won't solve it with one question, one answer. But maybe we'll just we're gonna depressurize this for a sec. All right. Yeah. We'll take the baby steps to circle around it and chip away at it and see kind of what we land on. There's a couple things coming out right now. Outcomes of good relationships, with the majority of customers saying that the value they got far exceeded the money they paid, and they are making a ton of money because of the work that you've done for them, right? Mm-hmm. They're also aligned. They see the world the way you see it, right? Like, they're aligned with your values too. If you had that, what does that do to the whole equation?
Well, it would make me ask the question, where are these folks and how do you find them? Where are these businesses and how do you find them? That's the immediate thing. And then how do you get into the same digital room or real room with them and begin to collaborate on stuff? I think that's why the word of mouth thing works so very well, because the people in the same types of circles all kind of, they have similar value systems and such. So how do I find more of those type of folks? Mm-hmm. Something occurred to me. I was quickly just thinking through a lot of the clients that I have now. And I think one thing that separates them from so many others is so many of my clients are about the work first and the money second. Like, obviously, you have to, I understand the whole goal of business is to, you know, create cash and sell product. That I have no, I don't have a moral problem with that. But the people that I work with and work with well are the folks that it's on their list. It's the work that something needs to be done first. Something in like their work is something that this world needs to have, and then the money is a secondary thing to it. I kind of run like that. Like my work is to serve other people. That's the primary thing. And okay, so but now we've got to bring the money part into it, and because all this stuff costs, and living has a cost fixed to it. I think the folks, the organizations, I'm not going to say folks because a lot of times it's organizational issues. Organizations that I don't jive real well with is when that is flipped. It's like money first and everything else second. And it seems, for whatever reason, it seems easier to find the money first people than it does the mission first people. And I haven't been able to figure out why.
Okay. Okay. And so if we parse out the sales and lead process for a sec, I heard you say, like, how do I find more of these people, right? If I gave you 20 companies right now that were work first, money second, what would you do with those 20 leads, with each of them, in a way that's aligned with your values to move that forward?
I tell you what I love to do is I would love to find a way to get down and just listen to them talk about the work, so I can get to know them and understand why they love the work. Because if I can understand why they love the work, then I can help them tell their story. I can help them. I can help them get their messaging out. I can help them do those things. So it's certainly, I guess, a long play, but I would just find a way to develop any type of relationship I can have with that list of 20, and find a way to get it as deep and sincere as possible, and then offer help. Like, hey, I can tell you really care about the work. How do we tell people about it? How do we raise awareness? How do we do all of those things? The nuts and bolts of how to do that is probably the part of the system that I don't know quite how to put into. I don't know how to systematize it, because that's just like meeting and talking with people and taking, I don't know, a genuine interest in what they do. It seems to be like the best way for me to operate is to really just get to know somebody, get to know what they do, and help them tell a story. I don't have, I mean, that's the basis of what my whole company is about. Yeah, I don't know how to systematize it. I can tell you what I would do if I'd have the list, but I don't know how to create a list, and I'm not exactly sure how I would begin those conversations, but I know that would be the goal for me.
Uh-huh. And I'm parsing this out because we seem now to be circling, like, we started with, like, how do we apply last week's thinking to business situations, right? Mm-hmm. Then we got to how do we apply this to expanding out of comfort zone. Then we isolated it to how do we get sales and lead gen. Now we've attached values on top of that. And now even between sales and lead gen, what I'm hearing is like, okay, we don't know how to systematize it yet, but there's some idea of like what you would do if you had the list of 20 people and how you would love to operate and move those forward. And this question of like, well, how do I find these companies? Lead gen seems to be one of the key questions now. It seems like when you have the 20, you know what you would want to do, but it's like, how do we find the 20?
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably the truth. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I think that discovery of things is a key deal. Yeah, it's like I don't, you know, I guess when it comes to, the actual meeting of things, the actual meeting of people and the actual talking of people and taking interest of, that's easy. That's just, being a good human being and listening to other people and knowing how to ask, really good questions and actually legitimately being interested with that part's easy. It's just, finding those type of people and that list is, that escapes me. It really does.
Okay. And so shall we focus on that part then for a bit?
Yeah, let's focus on that. I like it.
In general, in life, whether it's finding a friend or finding a partner or finding someone to go to the gym with or finding someone to whatever, what is in our control that we can do to maximize the chances that the people we bump into and speak with are aligned to the people that we want to be with?
Well, as contact over time, you can, I don't think you can adequately assess a person in a meeting, in a single meeting. Maybe you get a first impression in some of that stuff, but you're not going to really know a lot about values and stuff until you spent the time. So there's, it definitely lengthens any cycle, any sales cycle, or anything you put it in. If you're wanting to get to know people, it's contact over time. Real story. When I started going to the gym, I didn't talk to anyone for probably 3 or 4 months. But I watched everybody, and I saw the people who were serious about it, and I saw the people who weren't real serious about it. And when I reached a certain point, I found one person that was super serious about it. And I was like, he has some similar values that I'm trying to get, so I'm going to go talk to him. And he's one of my best friends now. So, but that's a long sales process cycle to do that. So yeah, it's for me, in the way that I think, it's contact over time. But then, I mean, obviously a lot of that rests on showing up and making contact, a lot of contact as well. So.
Can I ask a question that I promise is not self-serving at all, but I'm going to use myself as an example?
Sure.
You pinged me out of nowhere in November. Out of nowhere. Why'd you ping me?
Contact over time.
What does that mean?
We had, I think we had Darren's cohort together, I believe, is right around that time or something like that. And we got connected, started talking, started following, started seeing your posts, seeing your vibes, seeing the way that you responded to people. And then it was, for me, I've had an idea. I don't know if this is the right time to get into it or not. I've had this idea for quite a while. I originally thought that this would be a really cool, like, fictional series to do. Not between you and I, but the idea of a coach and an entrepreneur dealing through things. I always thought that would be a really cool story to tell. And because I followed you, listened to what you were saying, saw the stuff that you were doing, I was like, man, this is like, don't take this the wrong way, but you would be the character that I would write. You would be the character I would write for that part. And I was like, well, it dawned on me that I needed some help, and I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to script this. Let's just do it for real and see what goes on. So yeah, that's why it happened. It was contact over time, digital relationship, one-sided, because I don't think we had talked really much up to that at all, but just that contact over time where I saw your values, I saw the way that you approached it, and I was like, that's the piece that I would want to tell this story. Right? So, and maybe that last phrase is the ideal type of client that I want. I want the type of client that's the story I want to tell. Not so selfishly, but that's a story that dissolves. That's a story that deserves to be told, and that's a story that I know that I can tell with that type of person. So, yeah. So then it's like, yeah, I'll go take a big swing. I'm gonna ping a complete stranger, be like, "Hey, crazy idea. Why don't we just throw away the NDA and do all this stuff for real?" And I think it's turning out really cool, but it was a big swing to just launch into that out of nowhere. That was completely out of the comfort zone too. So anyway, yeah, history lesson for all viewers.
And I'm gonna show you why to me this isn't a history lesson, and where I think this might apply to you, right? Because in this case of like you reaching out to me, if we compare that to you and your video business, I'm you in that case, right? Like I'm sitting here as a coach, you're sitting here as the video producer. There is someone out there, his name's Josh, who saw the values I was putting out there, and something clicked in your world where you're like, oh, hey, that seems like alignment. And then you came to me. It didn't come from me blasting out a message to the whole cohort saying, hey, does anyone want to do an NDA? You came to me. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is this last thing that you said about like, you sat there and said, oh, Tarik's values, like that might click. And I'm trying to like, now, if you put yourself in my situation, right, with you being the person that we want people to say, hey, Josh, those values are aligned. What can you do in your control to like maximize the chances that we can find those clicks?
Right. Okay. So now we finally get to revisit the one piece of the triangle that we haven't visited yet, and that's the pressures of running a business. Because the way that this scenario played out between us is such a long sales cycle. It's such a long sales cycle. And when your sales cycles are so long, things get real quick. And that's to me where it's like, well, I need to have a little bit more predictability. I need to have a little, like, because it, not that creating content and sharing your values is easy. It's not an easy thing to do it consistently and to do it well, and certainly to do it to the standard that I have for that. There's a lot of work involved in it, but doing that is it for me. It has to evolve past that, where I'm actually being able to shorten that sales cycle, or like the creditors call, or I've got to skip this and skip that, right? So while I hear that, I hear what you're saying, that's part of it. The realities of business put a lot of pressure on you speeding up that sales cycle. And I think maybe a lot of that turns into that discussion of, well, am I going to have to violate something that I don't want to violate values wise in order to just get a couple of dollars in? And I know that that is absolutely a scenario that every single person who's ever run, started, or grown a business has gone through multiple times. And I'm a stubborn fool. I don't want to violate those. I don't want to violate those values. And selfishly, it's not because I'm some grand, grand example of, you know, truth and justice and the right way. It's that I know when I do, my life completely spirals out of control, and it is not good for me or anyone around me. So I can try to cope with the violating of values in unhealthy ways. I don't think that's what I really want to do. Or I can fight the good fight and just deal with the stress of all the business pressures that come on, and go with it. So, you know, yeah, we're it seems like we've been removed from the triangle, but here it is showing right back up again, and finally revealing itself in this third piece of it. So,
Okay. If we, there's something pulling me right now, Josh. Because you talked about the archetype of sales and maybe some of the ickiness that you feel around it. Can we tease that out for a sec?
please.
If the goal right now was we need to get optimized for money only. I'm not saying this is the goal, but I'm just hypothetically. If the goal was to optimize for money only right now, what in your mind is like the steps that would need to be taken to optimize for money only? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just find anyone who needs something right away, really quick. Just doesn't matter what it is.
Okay, keep going.
Oh, that's as far as I got. just find someone who needs a video and just make it for them, and you know, go through whatever process it is to give them what they want as quick as they want. And
What if
Yeah,
what if there was a, so what part of that feels like it violates the values? Like I'm wondering what if there was a, like what if there was a way to have that track there too? We've talked about the long sales cycle, which with your ideal clients and over long term, you already have a track record of doing that. But I'm curious, like what about that shorter term push for revenue fee? Which part of that feels like it's violating the values?
I'm having to take a gamble on whether my work is going to promote something that's worthy to be promoted. And like, it's why it's written down in our code that if we can't be helpful, we'll walk away. And helpful isn't just to the customer and to the client, it's to society at large. And I know that this is, I swear I'm not trying to come across this arrogant. I'm not trying to belittle anybody. I'm not like it just comes from a place where I I grew up with I grew up with a lot of folks that really had a good story to tell and really needed a spotlight shown on their work. And they either couldn't afford to do it, didn't know how to do it, didn't have the proper tools to do it, didn't have didn't have a person in their corner that believed in them enough in order to do it. And I watched their hopes and dreams die because they couldn't get into the market. They couldn't do those things. But the people that you could just tell were in it for the cash and they didn't care about the outcome, it was just getting that money, they thrived. And they're the ones that help put the real hard workers, the underdogs, maybe, I don't know. They're the ones that made it impossible for these other things to go on. I understand that's market reality. I'm not trying to buck the system or what anything like that, but at my core, what I do is what I do best, not just what I do best is to believe in people the way that I wish they believed in themselves and the rest of the world would believe in them too. And to bring those stories to life and to help them accomplish their goals. That's why I love working with startups, because there's a purity in them, because they believe in a mission and that something needs to be brought forth. I love working with coaches. I love working with mom and pops on Main Street. I love doing those things because I believe in those people. So what violates my values of just going after the money grab is if I feel like I'm going after the money grab just by working with everyone else going after the money grab, then the net benefit to society at large, it isn't there. Look, I don't have delusions of grandeur like I'm going to change the world, but I got to play my part. I got to do what I can, and it's the only thing in my control. And that goes back to my value system. I'm not in this to become, multi-billionaire. I'm not in this to become like Christopher Nolan. I'm in this to become like at the very best some story that someone tells their grandkids, like, hey, it was a really rough time, and then I met Josh, and Josh helped me do marketing and video and all these things, and he really changed my life. Like I'm in here for the stories for the grandkids. I'm not in here for the fame and fortune. And to chase after paper just to chase the paper is that's a hard bridge for me to cross. And I will say, like, there's a part of it too where I understand that I will oftentimes know that I work with enterprise clients as well, and I know that the best way that I've been able to handle that is knowing that I can, overcharge enterprise, not overcharge, terrible word, can't censor it, but love to, but I can adequately charge enterprise clients so that I can give a break to mom and pops. We have a strict 20% rule in our business. That 20% of our business is for people within like 50 miles of us. Like that's, and I live out in rural Virginia, man, where there's just as many cows as there are people. Like, you know, that's kind of the way that we want to do things. So I know the money needs to come there and do all that stuff, which is why it's so important for me to build a sales system. But I'm super afraid that I'm gonna have to make that compromise to sell a piece of my soul in order to help all the people that really deserve the help. That's the hang up. That's the biggest hang up. Because I feel if I do that, then I've I've somehow let down the people that need the help. I've somehow let myself down and I can't look myself in the mirror, and I somehow haven't set a good example for the way that we should live to, my daughter and stuff, right? So those are like the big emotional blocks. Like with me, man, it's not nuts and bolts that keep me from doing things. It's these internal conflicts of morality. I don't know if that's the right word or not, maybe, that keep me from putting nuts and bolts in place. And when I say to you, I can't see it, I can't see what the system would look like. It's not that I can't see the nuts and bolts of it, I can't see the morality side of it, of what it could look like. And that, unfortunately, is a big gap. And I pray that the day doesn't come where things get so bad that I have to throw it all away and make that big compromise. But I'm not stupid enough to. I'm not stupid enough, and I'm not audacious enough to say that that day won't come. But I really don't want it to. So back on those practical things. Yeah. Yeah. Like, you asked, why did I ping you, right? I pinged you because I pinged you that time because I saw what you did, and I believed in you. I believed that what you were doing needed to be shared, and the way that you were doing it needed to be shared, and that you deserved a bigger platform than what you currently had, and you to help more people than you were currently helping. Right? That's why I pinged you. That's the way I feel about all my clients. I do that because I think that they deserve the very best that someone else can give them. So I just need to find a lot more of them.
Do you see anything in your control right now that we could do to get more of those people in your orbit, more of the startups, more of the mom and pops, more of the people that have work ahead of money? Is there something that we could do to get in front of more of them and have them know who you are and have them know the values that you stand by so that they can say, oh yeah, like, we need Josh?
Oh, I mean, this is, I mean, the only thing that I have in my control is to be able to tell the stories. The only thing I have in control is to continue to share and post and create those connections with people and meet people and share those things. That's the only thing that I can control is to show up and be myself, which is probably the goal of all of this. This whole idea of going through executive coaching is how do I show up in a public forum and be myself? That's like the whole goal of all of it for me. Because I can only attract people are only going to be like if I want to attract people that have similar values to me, I have to be able to share them. So it's just a continuation of this and showing up and sharing the values and sharing those things. Just I guess if we're gonna look at those things, it's definitely using online tools, sharing all stuff on social media, creating a whole lot more content. Probably going to more networking events and getting face to face with people on a more consistent basis. Yeah, those are things I guess that come to mind right away, but it's a long play. I'm not afraid of a long play, but it's a long play.
I think it's really important that we've said it out loud, you know? Not just the long play part, but the real blockers right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do you want to go from here?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that this is probably the first discussion that I've had around the topic of sales that I didn't leave feeling icky or feeling forced to make some decision or make some action or do something that I wasn't really going to like. So I do appreciate the fact that we talked about it in a way that was not a BuzzFeed list. 10 simple things to do to increase your sales. Da, da, da. I do appreciate that. Because I don't think that would work for me. I've read too many of those lists and they all come across as shallow, no depth. The depth is where life is at. The depth is where our stories are. The depth is where humanities are. And that's the only thing that can tie and keep us connected and together. So, I don't know where we go from here. I know that I will continue making content, and I will continue sharing my values, and I will continue trying to make connections, and seeing if any of those things pay off. And I know that I will begin to look for some more opportunities to physically be in the same room with people, and get to know them, increase my contact over time. And then maybe some patterns will emerge and I can begin to build a good system around those patterns.
And if we found a way to do those things in a way that didn't feel icky, I'm just curious if that has any impact on your your drive to do those things. I'm wondering if there's ever been like a restraint to like do the outreach or do XYZ or go to XYZ events if we've associated it with ickiness.
Sure. Of course. Yeah. There's, of course there is, for sure. Part of the outgoing in the events thing is my massive introvertedness and how draining that can be, and how, there's that's something I have learned to manage over time. You show up and you put your energy on, and then you find ways to recover. But other parts of it too is doing it to check a box without any real reason other than this is what you do. That's that battle between efficient and just do it and get it over with type of thing that we talked about a little earlier. There's definitely that internal dialogue and internal conflict of, you're never going to learn how to do it unless you do it. But if I do it, it won't be efficient. And so I know that that's there. Now that I know that it's there, it'll be nice to be able to actually play out that dialogue a little more authentically.
Okay. And so I am wondering, like, if we found like that way to feel like sales itself isn't icky, what's keeping us from finding 100 startups that we think have good missions and calling them up and telling them kind of who you are in your words and your values? And it's not pitching them, it's not trying to get them to buy something, but saying, hey, I calling you because I saw what your mission is about, and like my mission, like I do this for people, and like, yo, it's not a sales pitch, but like I just freaking love helping people, and your mission stood out to me because of XYZ reasons. Is there anything stopping us from getting creative with get that type of outreach in a way that's aligned to your values?
I don't have a good answer for that. Immediately, it doesn't feel that way, but also immediately, I felt a resistance that I can't name. Don't know what it is, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to, I'm going to own that. So, like, yeah. So both when you said that, both sides instantly were like, "Great idea." Oh, really? So I'm going to have that dialogue. I'm going to have to figure out what that "oh, really" is really about.
And given last week's how you've landed on like how to deal with like the two voices, like what do you think you can do to kind of explore that "or really" feeling?
Yeah, so I'm gonna. Last week I actually spent time doing that and actually like writing it out like a script, like on my phone. Eric, Nick, like so. That process helped a little bit. Actually, like kind of crafting it like a dialogue in a movie scene was. It seemed a little corny at first, but it was effectively kind of fun. You put like a little scene around it, and you set the stage, and you do all your little director's notes and all that stuff. It was something. It was cool.
Would you be open to maybe trying that around like just this broader topic of sales and ickiness, and like how do we find the win-win here where it's supporting your business in a way that's aligned with your values, serving the people that you want to serve, and helping them? Like what does that conversation look like, and how do we find the thing? Because like you said, the nuts and bolts, and if you don't know some of them, then we know we can research them and understand it in 15 minutes, right?
For sure. Yeah, I have no issue doing that. I think that would be a really fun, good exercise to do.
Okay.
So.
Any other action do you want to take between now and next week?
gonna try to identify one person that I would like to work with and begin and just reach out to them. I think I can do one in a week. I think I can do one.
How will you hold yourself accountable to reaching out to that person?
Let's see. I was gonna say, well, I can bring a list, or I can bring the person here, but I don't want to violate any privacy. That's a great question. Like, we started a lot of this talking about how I'm really good at interpreting the vision and values of others, but when it comes to myself, not really good. And this is a really good example of that. Like, I don't know how to do that. Like, it's really weird. It's obviously some block in there because the answer seems really simple, but for some reason, it escapes me.
How would you tell me to do it if it was for my coaching business? And I was like, Josh, I'm going to commit to reaching out to one person that I think I want to coach in the next week. And I'm going to come back to you next Wednesday.
I would be like, hey, that's really cool. I'm going to ping you on Wednesday of next week and just, see if you did it. Like,
all right.
That's
I can do that.
See, I told you, it's really simple, but for whatever reason, it blocks out of my thing. So, yeah, would you just ping me next week and be like, hey, did you do that?
100%.
Okay, cool.
All right, my friend.
So weird.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man. I appreciate you a lot.
Any loose ends? Right now?
No, I just so I know the things need to be done, and they've got to do them. That's as far as I have at this point. So
okay. And before we wrap, give me your key insights from today. What stood out?
Sales success for me is going to be finding people, products, and a system that doesn't violate my values. So people's products and a system that doesn't violate my values. Not that my values are the be all and end all that everyone should aspire to, but because if I begin to violate my values, then destructive patterns reemerge in my life, and it's not good for anybody. And relationships are so important to this whole process for me. I don't believe I could run just a transactional type business. So yeah, I think those are the biggest takeaways. I'm sure as I watch these back, I will be like, oh, that's a good one too. That's a good one too. But off the lid, those are what jump out.
Okay. Keep me posted through the week.
Yeah, for sure.
Great job today. I know we covered a lot.
Yes, we do. And here I thought today was going to be a short session.
It goes as it goes.
It goes as it goes.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
great job.
yeah.
Cheers.